While the conversation rages on about the security situation of Nigeria and Nigerians, a very pivotal part, verily neglected by many, is the situation of trafficking. We have seen people trafficked, into modern day slaves while on their way to seeking greener pastures in other parts of the world. And according to the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, trafficking is not just an injustice to the person involved, but an injustice to the families of the victims and the entire human race. Nigeria is also quoted as being a transit point for trafficking in women and children for commercial sex purposes and child labor. These people are recruited from within and outside the country borders for involuntary domestic servitude, sexual exploitation, street hawking, mining, begging, and so on. Now, this cuts across population growth and unfavorable economic situations. In northern Nigeria specifically, the situation is getting worse and pathetic as the out-of-school children are being recruited into these inhumane ventures for the purpose of survival. A typical case is the Almajiri or Almajirinchi system, where a child cannot afford a meal, can meet up with the unexpected expenses without shelter and good sanitary facilities. Worst, no education. And the question is, are we not being a part of this form of servitude when we see these young people, or we call them young future leaders, in these harsh conditions? Joining me on this conversation is a former State Executive Council member, a former Commissioner for Rural Development, former Commissioner, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, and a senatorial aspirant in Bauchi State, Honorable Mahiro Mewoda Wundi. It's a pleasure having you here. Good afternoon, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. How have you been, and how's been Nigeria treating you in general? Because we have a lot to discuss this afternoon. But one of the things I would like to know is, what's your take on the state of the nation in general? What do you think about the country in general?
Thank you very much for that important question. That question, the situation in the country, we thought it would be worse than this.
Okay.
But what we're seeing, as far as the economy is concerned, things are taking shape.
Okay.
You can go to the market now, you see the prices of goods and services, most especially farm produce, which is very important. This is our daily meal, something we eat every day. So you can see the price of these grains has drastically reduced to the affordability of the general populace. So actually, as far as the economy is concerned, as far as in particular the price of goods and services, the government is doing well, and price of goods and services are coming down, and things are becoming more affordable to the populace. So I can give the present administration the pass mark. What we're expecting, based on at the time when the government came in, things were so, there was no stability on the economy. Prices fluctuates up and down. So with the few policies they have introduced, they're able to stabilize the price of goods and services. And we're seeing some, prices coming down, which is very commendable. So, and apart from that, on the issue of security, this is another area that we have problem. At the time when this administration came in, and from what the government is doing, most especially this amnesty program they have introduced, where the government is negotiating with the bandits so that there will be peace, it is really positive results. Most especially the recent one that took place at Kaduna State between the bandits, most especially part of Nungwari area. Now there is peace around that area. People go to the market freely, people go to their farms freely, and that is a positive move. It's a welcome development. And I wish the government will extend it to other states, most especially Katsina, where the issue is so at a very high level. So it's a very good policy, and I encourage the government to go on with that. Without security, there will be no farming. Farming season is approaching, and there is need to have a very peaceful atmosphere where farmers can have access to their farms, they can move their inputs to the market, and after production, they can take it to the market. So security is very paramount, very important for the development of any nation. So as far as security is concerned too, I give a pass mark to the government, but more need to be done.
Okay.
Because it's not only in northern part of the country. There are other challenges, both in the southern part of the country, in the southwest, south, southeast, even in the northeast.
Yeah.
The still Boko Haram is still there. So I think this amnesty or this negotiation with the bandits and the Boko Haram people, I think is a welcome development, and I want the government to take more serious, approach to
I
this.
think a day before yesterday or yesterday in the papers, I saw a situation where experts are warning against the issue of having this negotiations and amnesty to bandits or repentant Boko Haram in specific. Now you mentioned Borno State. They said in the paper about 5,000 people were pardoned and reintegrated into the society. But experts are warning against this, and in specific, Zamfara, Katsina, and Niger State governors say, look, we are not going to dialogue with these people. Now, I remember in security, in solving issues of insecurity, there's always a kinetic and non-kinetic approach.
Yes.
And the fact that these guys have gone far and beyond, terrorized communities, killed people, maimed them, and then you are a victim. People who are members of the society are still in IDP camps. And instead of attention being paid to them because they did nothing wrong, they could have simply picked up arms and joined the, Boko Haram, the bandits, the whatever it is. But they chose to be peace-loving. And they are still in IDP camps. And these guys that killed and destroyed the communities or society at large are being reintegrated. Don't you think that the thoughts and the fears, worries of this security expert, of which I myself share, are legit and solid?
Yes. Government has been using the kinetic approach to the issue for how many years now? And it's not yielding any result. There will be, the tension will just come down for a moment. After some time, it will still escalate to another level. And it has been there for how many years? So, but for us to go to the root of the problem, it's not only when there is crisis you come and resolve the issue and leave, but let's go and find out where does this thing originate from. You understand? The real cause, not the real cause of the problem, what brought about all this. During that negotiation, the bandits, they are also Nigerians, most of them are Nigerians. They will tell you their own part of the story, why they are doing that. Without sitting with them or having a dialogue with them, you will never know their own problem. But once you are able to identify a problem, you can only solve a problem when you have identified the problem, the problem, the cause of the problem. Then you can take some remedial actions to remedy the situation. But using the kinetic approach, so many mistakes have been committed. Some innocent citizens were killed also through strike by our military and security agencies. But when there's negotiation, the real people masterminding the banditry will be called to a dialogue. They will tell you their own part of the story. The government will also negotiate with them. You understand?
Yeah.
So, since we cannot get to any level using the kinetic approach, it's better to go for non-kinetic approach to the case, and that will bring the problem to its lasting solution. You understand? Because for how many years now we have been having this Boko Haram in the south, the northeast, the southwest, we have this the northwest, we have the banditry issue. How many years? And we are unable to even find out the root cause. So, like this, I can just give an example of this Kaduna approach. Now you can go to Dodongwari at whatever time. Farmers go to their to their farms, go to the markets. There was, but for how many years there have not been market day in Dodongwari? But now You can come to the market with your produce, you sell, you buy what you need for your household, and go back.
It was not just even a case market, even the farms, you owning the farms, you have to pay levies before you could be allowed to
That was
cultivate
there.
your
It's
farms.
no
Yeah,
more. It's no
true
more.
that, true
No.
that. Yeah.
And I think this farming season, so we expect a lot from that part of Nigeria. And it's one of the food basket of this country. They
True
produce a lot of grains for the country. So I think that will also add to our national GDP, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. So we started this conversation talking about trafficking. Now, trafficking is a very serious situation. And for me, when I look at it deeply, talking about the Almajirinchi system, and I'm tempted to ask, are we not part of the problem? Are we not part of traffickers? Or when you see something that has to do with it, and okay, in the first place, what do you think about the Almajiri system?
No, trafficking and the Almajiri system, they're all against human nature. What I mean by that, lives of individuals are very important. But people, the trafficking issue of a thing, we are no more in the slavery period where you sell your fellow human being to others for them to go and involve in, to engage in hard labor and other, you know, and other activities for. So, for the case of Almajiris, government has made a lot of effort to stop the issue of Almajiri, but still there's no much result from it. And if you could remember, previous administration has established Almajiri schools and so on. Up to, but the population, the rate at which the population is growing, government cannot afford to formalize the Almajiri system because as we are providing the amenities, more children are being born and they are being exposed and sent to the street to look for food and other needs. So it's a very serious issue that government need to look at it critically and find a solution to it. So it's a national problem, and in fact, particularly in the north, it's a problem, and we cannot solve that problem until we look at our household system. What I mean by that, the population. People should try to at least have number of children they can maintain.
Sure.
They can train, they can take good care of them so that they can be very good and responsible citizens of this country. So I think the government should come up with a policy, mostly the educational system. I think they should introduce something that would be integrated into the system, the curriculum of primary and junior secondary school, so that we can absorb most of these children that are not in school, so that they can be in the formal setting of education.
But what about those who see it as form of Islamic education? So, I mean, it's not even the issue
It's
of
not
whether the children they
only
can take care of.
Some people read from their own homes, their parents teach them. You know, this is our religion. It's not a matter of just going there to learn how to recite the Quran. You
True.
need to know the real practice. You have to be a practicing Muslim. Not only are a Muslim, a practicing Muslim. And you cannot serve or you cannot be a good Muslim without knowing the various rules and regulations governing their religion. So most of these Almajiri, you see them going to beg in the street. If they go back to their own, where they live, they don't have time to even pray. So the issue is a very serious issue that the system has to be changed. They are not even giving them the education that they expect to have as young children. They need to inculcate a spirit of, in fact, their hygiene, their way of life, their dressing, and so all these things need to be looked at. But most of these children you see at Almajiri, the parents, they don't even care. They are just trying to have a relief so that they may not be feeding them or providing for them. What they're with the Malam will engage them in certain economic activities to generate money so that they can feed them and give it what they can afford.
Which, if we look at it, falls under the category of child labor and abuse and all of that.
Yeah, it's an abuse. It's an abuse. Yes.
So, how do we get rid of this, Almajirinchi system? Because we cannot say building school. You said something earlier. You made mention of the fact that during Goodluck Jonathan's administration, Almajiri schools were built in most northern states. What are the state of these Almajiri schools we had then? And how do we go about it? Because you said the government has a lot to do. And do you think this thing is beyond the government also at the moment as it stands?
The government doesn't have the resources to take care of the automatic system, most especially the north part of the country. We don't have the resources, and we don't even have the personnel to take care of these children. So the only thing is for the Almajiri system to be formalized. Let there be a ministry of non-formal education where this thing can come up. You understand?
So when you talk about non-formal education she created for them, what do you picture in having a non-formal
Though
education?
there is an agency responsible for that,
Okay.
but it's not enough. There is need to incorporate or to integrate this Almajiri system into our educational system, most especially in the northern part of the country. All children, primary education must be made compulsory on all children. And learning of religion, both Christian and Islamic religion, must be compulsory in all our primary and junior secondary schools. I think the essence of having a way for them to go and learn how to worship their creator. You understand? In an informal way, where even the teachers are not with them at all times. They allow them to move from morning 6 to 6. They will leave their homes by 6 and come back by 10. Where do they have time to go and even learn how to read the Quran and all that things? So, but where the Almajiri system is incorporated or integrated into the system and making it compulsory subject, once you're a Muslim, you must offer Islamic religious knowledge. If you're a Christian, you read Christian religious knowledge, and education is compulsory. Most of you clear all these Almajiri from the street. And that's
First of all, I think I agree with you. That's the most important thing I feel, clearing them off the street, because sometimes it's very pathetic when you see them on the street and all of that. Anyways, before I interrupted you, clearing them off.
Yes.
And what other things must be, these are the things, the structures must be on ground. First of all, clearing them off. And what other things do you think must be done in order to, get rid of this system?
Parents. There must be sort of the Nigerian NOA,
National Orientation Agency.
National Orientation Agency, they have a lot to do. There's need for advocacy, going from one place to the other, from the state level to local government, even to the ward level, sometimes even to the units, to enlighten parents on their responsibilities on their children. They brought them to this world, and it is their own responsibility. But in my own religion, your creator will question you. How did you raise up my servant, the child he gave you? You must explain. When you talk of training a child, it's not only feeding the child, but try to inculcate a very good character in him so that he can be sellable to the world. Because you can't live in a vacuum. You need to interact with others. So having that good character will help you, will shape your life, or you shape your way of doing things that will be appealing to people that will come across you. And that will help you immensely in building your future and your career.
Very well. So let's talk about this. What are your plans for, let's talk about, you contested for 2023 election senatorial.
Yes.
Which senatorial district again?
Bauchi South Senatorial District.
Bauchi South.
Yes.
So if you had become the senator, what were your plans for your people in Bauchi South?
Well, being from Bauchi, I know Bauchi very well. And I was able to identify, I have my vision and mission, assuming I've been elected as a senator to represent that my constituency. If you're a senator, you are not only representing your constituency, you are representing, you are making laws for the whole country. But we had peculiar problems from my own constituency, and that is network. What are my road network? We are farmers, and we're everywhere. You know, as a farmer, we can't just come on and stay in one particular place. We have villages, hamlets across so that you can have land, enough land to cultivate, to farm. Most of our people are peasant farmers, subsistence farmers. What I mean by that, they produce for their own personal consumption. They don't have enough that can be sold, something they can take to what they provide for their own daily needs. So one of my first, priority is agriculture. My plan was that I would try to ensure that all farmers from my own constituency, and in particular Bauchi State, move from being subsistence farmers to commercial farmers. You produce in large quantity, you reserve some for your feeding of your day-to-day needs, then as well as marketing the excess you have. So agriculture was my major reason why I wanted to make sure that agriculture is being promoted. Yeah, the conditions of people is being improved as far as agriculture is concerned through changing the method or the art of the way we produce our crops. Most of our farmers, they use these local tools, traditional tools we have been using for years in memorial, But where we mechanize the system, where machines, are being used, modern techniques of farming are being introduced, some chemicals that are very pesticide and so on. All these inputs need to be the one that's being used everywhere, mostly in advanced countries. So with that, we'll be able to improve our productivity and the economic standard of our people, or situation of our people will be improved. So agriculture was would have been my major, my major aim of, that's an area where I wanted to put most of my, constituency issues.
Okay.
Yes, and secondly, after that, we are relatively peaceful, most especially in the northern part of the Bauchi South Central District. We are relatively in a very peaceful
Environment.
So we don't have much to do on agriculture, on the environment, but agriculture, the provision of, the health issue.
Yeah.
We have problems. We don't have enough medical facilities. What I mean, platforms, clinics, hospitals, and so on. We need to have more. So these are my two major reasons why I wanted to come into politics, or to have a position where I can do something and add value to the lives of my people in my conference.
So let's say 27 is by the corner now. Are you still investing? Are you still contesting for Senate, or you're moving to governor or presidency?
Actually, a politician doesn't retire. He's always a politician. But this government is just 2 years old, almost 2 years or 1.5.
By this time next year, everybody is preparing for 2027.
No, that is what we are trying to change. We should allow people that are elected to work first. It's time for governance now. It's not time for politicking. So by next year, end of next year, they must have at least exhausted 2.5 years. They will have 1 year for political activities. But right now, I cannot say. It's far. We are far away from the goalpost. So I think it's not yet time. We are just watching, and we are doing our best. Despite that we are not elected, we are still contributing to the development of the country. Because from our own little way of, we are businessmen, and from the, what do you call it, organized private level, private sector. So we are doing our best. Also, we're contributing our quota toward the development of economy
Activities.
of this country.
So you're talking about contributing your quota. What has been happening in the Bauchi State? Are you okay with how Bauchi State is being governed at the moment? And what are some key areas you feel the state governor needs to work on? What are some of your reservations or some of the things you feel you need to air about Bauchi State as a whole at the moment?
You know, Bauchi is not a commercial state. What I mean, most of the people in Bauchi are either peasant farmers or civil servants. We all rely on government. So our main problem is unemployment. Most youths, they don't have something to do. What I wanted this government to do was let them invest into empowerment, creating jobs, entrepreneurial, training for the youths, engaging them to start up businesses so that they can be self-reliant. But instead of doing that, the government is busy building high, flyovers,
Flyovers.
and so on, which I think Bauchi doesn't have that congestion that must warrant the governor to start building flyovers. We need to have the former governor of Ekiti State was saying, for stomach infrastructure. If you don't have something to eat, do you need vehicle to run around? And how many vehicles do you have in Bauchi? So as far as I'm concerned, to me, having all those structures is not the way to go. But we should try to establish small and medium-scale businesses so that they can absorb and employ these youths that are roaming the street.
Okay.
So that we can sustain the security that's there. So we don't have much security challenges in Bauchi because our people, they are highly religious, and for that to be consolidated, government should try to provide jobs.
If they're giving the government job of tackling insecurity, the government needs to do more and give them something to keep themselves busy and make their lives better. Interesting conversation here. For those who are just joining us, we've been having this conversation with Honorable Mahiru Mwewada Wendy, former commissioner for Rural Development and then Ministry of Commerce and Industries in Bauchi State, and then a senatorial aspirant in the same Bauchi State. It's been an enlightening and interesting conversation because when I asked that question about the activities of what the government needs to do, I remember a conversation I saw on Instagram where a lady said, Northern Nigeria, the governors need to do a lot. I mean, we don't need all these flyovers. Everywhere you go to, almost every governor is building flyover. Flyover for what? It's really interesting that he hit on the same issue. We should look at key economic issues, key issues that affect the people, and then work on them instead of just copy and paste and all of that. Interesting conversation. But just before we go, sir, can we have last words from you? Is there anything else you want to let us know?
No, what I will add, as what the governor of Bauchi is doing, there's an area I was impressed with. I told you the issue of the road network. He has done a lot.
Okay.
As far as road construction is concerned, he's doing a lot, and I appreciate that. But I want him to look at that issue of empowerment and engaging the youths, provide them something that they can earn their own living from. So I think he's doing well, but you need to do something about that. And the federal government too, the policies they are introducing now, as I've said, they should try to make sure that they maintain the tempo at which it is good as the fasting period is approaching. Prices of goods should still come down. We appreciate that the price of fuel is coming down, prices are coming down, but it should come down further. That would be
a fantastic one.